Down the Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat, we trust.
You sound scared.
It's about have the guts, we're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to another post-game edition of 5 on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Major Passons. We come to you directly after a thriller. Who would have thought? Double OT. Miami beats Orlando 125-119 at the Kasaya Center. This is a game against a team that they're right in the standings. So there was, right next to in the standings, So there was implications on the line when you just look at the Eastern Conference. We're going to get into what was ultimately a really fun game. Before we do, want to shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, $2.99. Click through, join us. We will talk basketball 24/7, but particularly Miami Heat basketball in the main thing chat. You can also do all the other different channels for different topics, so you can really navigate mostly to Off the Floor for all of your conversation, but primarily for the host updates, for the main thing chat. Lots of robust Heat conversation going on there. $2.99, $3.99 on your Apple device. The link is right here in the description. Remember, Off the Floor, the most Heat anywhere. So, Major, this was fun, and the Heat have needed some fun. We said pre-show that we weren't going to talk about a certain somebody, and we're not going to, because tonight there was so much other stuff to talk about. This was a game that the Heat battled back. They had they were 5-18 on the season when trailing going into the fourth quarter. They were trailing going into the fourth quarter. They used a 29-20 fourth quarter to tie the game, take it to overtime, ultimately get the victory in double OT. We're going to get to players of the game, plays of the game, defense of the game, because there was all of that applies. But just generally, I'm interested to hear your perspective. You tweeted some things that I think are representative of how a lot of Heat fans feel. They want to start to be able to cheer for the guys that are on the court right now, playing with this team, that are vested in the success of this group going forward. Tonight, we got to see a real crazy variation of that with all of the young guys closing, all the drafted players playing. Your thoughts on the victory against the Magic?
It was gritty. Like, if you're going to give one word to it, just grit. Flat out, they didn't play their best. They missing the one we're not going to talk about, which should be their best player, right? It not set up well. They're playing a bad matchup for them in the Orlando Magic, playing the little brothers in Florida. Already won 2 games. They blew a fourth quarter against the Magic earlier, and they had their chance to return the favor, and they did. They ended the fourth quarter on like an 11-0 run or something like that to send it to overtime. It looked like a loss. Then you had Duncan hit some threes. You had Herro hit a 3. You had Bam and Ware pull up every defensive stop, get every rebound. Jovic was in with them, playing that for the Miami Heat ultra big lineup. And they just played perfect, almost playoff basketball, to where it wasn't perfect basketball, but it was, we're going to find a way to win this game no matter how ugly it is at times. I mean, there was a couple terrible possessions of offense, but that defense was, hey, we're just going to lock in and make it hard on you. It was a blast. It was Miami Heat basketball that I know and love. It might not be always the prettiest thing, but man, we're going to find a way to win this game.
It's true. I mean, there was 30 turnovers between the two teams. Miami had 16 of them. I'm looking here. Offensive rebounds. Orlando had 12 to Miami's 5. They out-rebounded the Heat ultimately by 4. From three, they were pretty identical and around the 36% range on pretty equal attempts, team over team, 39 attempts for Orlando, 41 for Miami. This was a really just close game. You're right in that it was playoff competitive. It wasn't necessarily that I think that the intensity was 100% there, but you're seeing with the Heat that there's a lot of young guys that are playing for stuff. I think, frankly, Tyler Herro's playing for an all-star nod. I think that tonight was the last game before the coaches have to submit their ballots. So he was trying to play up to speed. Khalil Ware had his moments. There was just everybody contributed in different ways. And that's actually going to be a perfect segue into our first segment. We're going to get to the Insurance by Lynette player of the game.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So there's a lot of ways we can go, Major, but I am going to start out, and I'll let you pivot in the other direction because there's more than one guy that needs the shout out. But Bam Adebayo needed a game like tonight. He was 10 of 15 from the field, 44 minutes, had 26 points, got to his sweet spots and was making the shots. 6 of 8 from the free throw line shows that he was aggressive. Things were clicking. 9 assists, 10 rebounds. There were 3 guys with double-doubles tonight. That's not a thing that's been happening a lot lately. So I'm going to call out Bam Adebayo because he needed a game like this in the worst way possible just to start to gain some confidence back. Sometimes that's all you need for to be a springboard so that you start to see the ball go in the basket and some of those offensive struggles go away. But Tyler had a really great game. Ware had his moments. What are your thoughts on some of the other guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going strictly off player of the game, I would probably give it to Bam because in the key moments he was making the biggest plays. Double OT, it was all Bam, it felt like. But I mean, Herro, like you talked about, it's the last game before the coaches put in their ballots. And boy, a 30-point, 8 rebound, 12 assist, just great game. Like he was in control. I think his stats and his game would have been even better if he didn't tweak his leg too. For a good while, you could tell he was playing a little bit different, not taking advantage of some of the matchups off the dribble like he was earlier in the game. Yep. But he still ended up with 38 and 12 on 12 of 28 shooting. Didn't shoot the 3 well at 4 of 15. But then you have Jovic continuing to, be a fantastic role player and excel in his role, hitting those threes. He had a big 3 too. And then you mentioned Ware. He was very important in this game too. Had some mistakes like we expect Ware to make, but I mean, he broke up that lob and I think it was double OT too to kind of get them that stop to really then put the nail in the coffin. He had the lob to get the 2-point lead at the end of the fourth quarter before Franz hit that great layup. So Ware had his moments too. Like this is one of those games where you have even Duncan. We didn't mention Duncan, but Duncan hit some huge shots. Like
down the stretch.
You have several players where you're like key moments of the game, they all showed up. It wasn't like they solely had to rely on one guy. If I would have to give it to someone though, I think it would be Bam from, the key moments.
Yeah. And that's what they needed. Tyler's going to go. I thought that to your point about him, maybe being a little hobbled after he got hurt, he pulled up for some really deep threes where I think he had the ability to really get by a player or probably could get something on the move that would have been a better look. So some of those were a little deep for my liking, but also I understand a guy that's shooting the way he's shooting, making them at the clip that he's making them, at the volume. Sometimes he's going to have nights where he's going to throw them up. And this was one of those nights. They didn't all go. But I'm with you. Bam needed this game. He was definitely the guy down the stretch. Hopefully that they can build on it. I mean, this was a game too that I think is just important to reiterate to our listeners and our viewers. It's all drafted guys and Duncan.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that is a big, I think, like in the midst of the situation that's happening right now and what clearly appears to be a transitionary moment. I don't even know if that's a word, transitional moment for the team, to see everybody step up against a team like Orlando, who's built in a way where this can sometimes be a weird matchup. I thought it was, I'm not going to overstate things. They're still, sub 500 and they're, sixth in the conference tonight, but who knows where they'll be tomorrow. But this was a lot of positives for a team that kind of needed something that would quiet the noise. Let's get to our next segment where we hone in on a few of the best plays.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
What were your favorite plays? I got a couple, but I'll pass you the mic first. What were your favorite ones tonight? There's a lot to choose from.
Oh gosh, man. If I have to choose one, I'm probably going that weird dunk to go up 2 right there. That was obviously to take the lead at the end of a game. You expect that's a good chance to be a game winner. Second is probably that Herro 3 in double OT when I was like, we for sure won this game. Like I stopped worrying even a little bit right then and there. Those two are the ones that stick out. But like you said, you could probably pick like 60 plays. It was incredible.
I thought Bam taking advantage of Anthony Black on the baseline and getting to the basket and getting that dunk. Like we wanted to see him take it, like mismatch hunt. When you have those moments, he had that moment. Then you honed in on the other 2 plays. I'm glad you're correcting me in the chat. The Heat are not sub 500. They're a game above 500 now. So that's good news. More good news. So those were some of the top plays. There was a ton of other ones. I thought that Duncan Robinson, to your point, made a move towards the basket when they actually got to run some offense and made a tough running layup that was a key bucket when they needed it, when there was a lot of ISO ball being played and they were slowing the ball down. And Tyler, they're setting screens so high for Tyler these days. It's like we have Damian Lillard out there or something as high as they're setting the screens. So it was nice to see Duncan actually get something on a curl to the basket. I think Bam assisted it. Kel'el Ware also catching that Jovic pass at the end of the game when Jovic threw it under the basket. I know that it was too far and obviously was a turnover by the Heat, but I thought that Nico even being able to connect that pass to Ware was fun to watch. Because they're trying new things and it's young guys. You're seeing them kind of grow and learn. And that's like part of embracing a next cycle of Heat basketball and the next build has a lot to do with those things. So we saw some of those plays tonight. As you said at the top of the show, like it's not always pretty. Sometimes you got to go through some ugly moments, but ultimately this felt a lot more like Miami Heat basketball than some of the recent stretches that have felt, I won't say lifeless, but kind of just like everybody has been tired of, the elephant in the room, we'll say. And tonight there was none of that. It seemed like they really locked in on playing together. So that was big. They need to clean up the turnovers. They obviously need to rebound better. There's stuff we could pick apart, but those were the plays that jumped out at us. Let's actually flash to the last segment, defending the house, before we close up shop here.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
I mean, Ware had the blocks. There were definitely plays down the stretch where there were good defensive plays. Overall, for me, this was a game where you still forced Orlando into 15 turnovers. You got a ton of points off turnovers. I think that was a big part of, I think that the last I heard on the broadcast, it was something like 26 points off of the 14 turnovers, from Orlando. So they had their moments defensively, which they had to have because offensively they didn't always have it going. The percentages don't do the game justice in terms of, I felt like there were just moments where the Heat struggled offensively, 15 of 41 from 3. Your takeaways defensively are what? I feel like Ware and Bam is working. Let's keep riding with it. Haywood Highsmith in the starting lineup. I guess that works. There's a part of me that wants to see Nico in there, maybe just to have all the drafted guys get a run. But your thoughts on the defense and just closing up as we look ahead to the next game.
Yeah, I mean, there were certainly moments where Spo could pull up some game film for pretty much half the game or more where it was not great defense. But they clutched up when needed to down the stretch in the fourth. Double OT. They were there when they needed to be, and that's the most important part. To your point, I do think Ware and Bam is working. It was fun. It still is fun, but it's something new that he can throw out. And I don't know if that's the biggest part of it, just kind of put some joy back in there. So I would like to see that continue. Jovic, I think sometimes we jump too much to where like this guy's playing good in his role. Let's move him to a different role. I wonder that with Jovic, if like, hey, keep him on the bench. He can analyze the game on the bench, come in and know exactly what he needs to do whenever he's in. More so than trying to figure out on the fly. He's a fun player that I love watching. But I think for now, let's not mess up what he's already doing. Highsmith, he's kind of feels like just like a spot starter now. Like he just starts, plays a couple minutes, and then you like never see him again, it feels like. But I like Highsmith as a archetype of a player. Like I like that defensive guy. I think you especially need that at points with the Miami Heat and the team they roll out there. So I would probably keep the starting lineup the same. As for overall thoughts, like this has felt like the longest Miami Heat season I can remember in a long time, right? Like
that says a lot considering some of these years they've sludged through to 500 records.
Exactly. And I mean, we talk about it, we joke about it. I am the most optimistic Heat person in the world. And even so, in this season, there's not even anything fun I could look forward to for a couple weeks, right? Not even I can convince myself something was going to happen at the end of the year. Couple years ago, several years, they might have been the 8th seed. They might be in the play-in. But hey, we get in the playoffs, we have a chance. That's how I always thought. This year, didn't have that feeling. But now, they're only 3 games out of the 4th seed, which is the Milwaukee Bucks. Like that doesn't make sense to me right now. They are only 1 game over 500, so I'm not acting like they're some incredible team. But we're having fun. We're winning some games. We're still 500. If this is our quote-unquote rebuild tank year, lean into the youngins, and we're still going to be competing for a home playoff series halfway through the year, I'll take that. I think we can all enjoy this season. We can all have some fun. We got the Vice uniforms back. That was the greatest thing, right?
This is true.
And speaking of, we are fantastic color coordinated right now, by the way. I didn't even know we were doing Vice, and I am wearing the perfect colors for this. You're wearing Vice stuff. It's
This
all
is true.
We
We're
have
professionals at this.
Yeah, we're chemistry. Just like
The
the
other
Heat.
big piece that I thought was worth mentioning, and now I've lost my train of thought, but I'll get it back here in a minute, is Jaime Jaquez. I think also it'll be interesting to see if they give him a shot in the starting lineup or if they continue to bring him off the bench. Gosh, there was something else that I was going to mention, and now it's completely lost my train of thought. So you know what? That means it wasn't meant to be said. We appreciate everyone joining us. Shout out to our sponsors. Major closed up well enough that I don't need to put any more thoughts into this. I'm just going to go ahead and close up. Thank you for joining us again. The Miami Heat win in double OT. We'll have you covered for Heat Cavs. That's up next. Thank you to Major for your time. And whatever I completely forgot about to close out this show, because this is what it was. It came back to me. So we're going to close out correctly. There's parallels to being 500 and finishing in the 4-5 in that the Heat in 2004 with Dwayne Wade's rookie year finished 42-40. They finished fourth and they got to the second round. So it's not unprecedented to be in the middle of the pack of the Eastern Conference and still make something out of the season, have a young team, and get to the second round. I'm hope trafficking for one night. That's enough.
2 years from a title is what I heard.
Yep. Let's hope for it. For one night, we had a good time. Peace out.